Brie, welcome to the constant struggle and my backyard for
What?
barbecuing.
Wait, thank you, Nick. I'm still in my office where there is no barbecue because that would
No,
be unsafe. There is a barbecue outside,
is
but
Danny barbecuing?
no, but he did yesterday because it's
Mm.
that time of year. It's the summer months have arrived.
Barbecue SZN.
That's right. Now, has barbecue SZN affected your work at all? Well, give me a little update. What's new? What are you working on?
Yeah, I knew this question was coming,
Wait,
and
first, maybe we should say first, get ready. You're going to have an awesome interview in a second with Kirk McCullough, who's a delightful improviser and a teacher in his
yeah,
daily.
and we'll get the vegetables out of the way first.
Yes, that's right.
Of
That's the meat, is what you're saying. Of the meat
mm,
of the conversation.
yeah,
Eat your vegetables.
the
Okay,
yummy
gotcha.
parts.
That's right. Okay,
And anyway, yeah, no, I'm not writing at all,
no.
and I'm trying to figure out why. Like, I don't want to
Hmm.
at all,
What
and
have you
I
been doing instead? Maybe that'll help.
Uh, yeah, there's been a
Figure it
lot
out.
more hanging out with the kids.
Indoors, outdoors.
Both of the doors.
Okay. Because it could
Um,
it could just be like we're finally allowed out, so you would rather be outside enjoying, time with your family than
yeah,
sitting in seclusion in the basement.
I don't exactly. Well, that's the thing, and the basement's not a very welcoming place right now. it's a
Uh-oh.
toxic. It's a toxic. No, it's cold.
Toxic
Is what
work.
it is.
Oh, toxic work environment.
Yeah.
Well, you could easily bring your laptop outside, I think, to your
Oh,
backyard, no?
yeah. I fully intend to get to editing. It's it crosses the mind. But I don't know, like after a day of work, I'm just so done. I just need hours of YouTube watching like German girls living in Scotland foraging in the forest for vegan food.
Is this a real thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Did you just think I finally learned how to improv?
yeah, I was like, wow, that was very specific.
That's a
That would,
good pull.
yeah, that is
No, sorry, it was a good pull. It wasn't I invented it.
okay. I need to know why. Why are you watching that?
It's
Is it
so
that
comforting.
interesting? Oh, okay.
She's got good audio in the background. I don't know. It's like ASMR adjacent because she has like the accent.
Okay. Wait, the German
And
accent.
yeah, and it's like Scotland.
Right.
So, we can't go there right now because of the global pandemic.
So it sounds like all of this is maybe pandemic related.
Dude, yeah, I've got the blues, buddy. That's all it is.
Okay. Well, I mean, that happens. That happens to the best of us. I was gonna say a lot of people. I think a lot of people in the summertime, like I've noticed, fewer people are interested in continuing improv classes right now
Mm,
because
you should do beach prov. That's how you get them
yeah,
back.
exactly. Beach prov would be fantastic, or even park prov, which we've considered. But even then, I think people are like, you know what? I spent all this time online
Mm,
learning all kinds of things and working online at home and doing all this stuff at home. I need like the summer. And that's a very Canadian thing, I think, or a very North
my God,
American
yeah, the summer is, dude, and baseball even hasn't even kicked in yet. So my schedule is gonna get nuked.
with your son's baseball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's looming on the horizon for this week already.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's something to look. Is it something you look for? Do you coach? You coach him? Are you coaching
No,
him,
no,
or you
no.
just have to
I'm
make
like
sure that?
official team scorer.
Oh, that's fun.
And yeah, like me and Coop normally do some like family practice time as well.
Okay. Well,
But
that's nice.
he's been injured. He hurt his knee a couple weeks back,
Oh no.
but he's on the mend. He's getting
Okay.
back to Hundo P.
Well, fantastic. It's easier when you're a kid to sort of go back to ship shape.
Yeah, and
Um.
yeah. Anyway, I'll get back to editing so I can share something next month.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
So
Uh,
how's your stuff going? Like other than struggling to get improv classes back together?
I guess that's it. It's the big struggle right now is getting people to sign up for classes, and even people who typically just perform with me. I think some of them are looking for a break too because it's been a lot of online stuff, which is it's just kind of ironic that it's like, all right, we're gonna maybe do some in person rehearsals next month, and some people are still like, you know what, I need a break. I need a break from
Oh
this.
man,
It's like, oh, okay,
can you make it online?
yeah, I don't think I'm ready for people, but that's it's all on the horizon in terms of performing and that kind of stuff because patios are opening up and maybe some outdoor performance spaces are opening up. So we're,
Oh, shout out Lakeshore Boulevard in Mississauga. The patio scene there was looking pretty tasty.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, they're closing the streets down in St. Catharines and in Niagara,
Oh,
well, in Niagara Falls. I want to say the main, like the sort of main, like Queen
like
Street,
St. Paul Street, or
St. Paul in St. Catharines and Queen Street, Niagara Falls. It looks
that's
like.
gonna be a tasty summer, dude.
Yeah, it's just so we got to find where we could put our performances in there. At the same time, Second City has just launched a new class that I get to teach, or that I came
Mm.
up with, which is kind of exciting.
Oh,
It's just
okay, cool.
it's a class on hosting, for the most part, improv classes. It's to help other people learn to host improv shows,
I
because
thought you were gonna say hosting for the mosting.
I should call it hosting for the mosting.
There you
Uh,
go.
but that's like, I've been waiting. I pitched this class to them, like, honestly, years ago,
Mhm.
and they finally put it up on the website, which feels good.
It's gonna be a thing.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. So I'm gonna be teaching a hosting class. But I don't know. That depends on how many people sign up, because I get the feeling again that a lot of people just want to spend their time outside right now.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as I'm like, oh, that's a struggle, I'm also like,
I could use a break.
now I can I can spend some time outside. I haven't been to the beach this summer yet at all, so I'm looking forward to that. And you know what? I think who I think is really looking forward to a summer holiday.
Oh, probably like teachers, right,
My
Brie?
guess is teachers. Yeah, teachers are probably really, really hoping for that those couple months off. And I think
Man, it'd be exciting to talk to a teacher to find out about that.
Nick,
What?
didn't you know
Oh, what, Brie?
Kirk McCullough, our guest today, is a teacher?
What?
Wait, it's weird because you talked to him for over an hour in the
Where he well
episode.
established the fact that he was a teacher.
But I think you'll really enjoy this, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody in between listening at home.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me.
Oh, you too, Nick. Yeah, I think
Yay!
you're going to enjoy this as we take you to episode 70 of the Constant Struggle podcast with Kirk McCullough, who will tell us all about his sort of improv journey, as well as the struggle to balance your day job, your money job, with that creative outlet, that creative part of your day. So it's
The very nub of our program, Brie.
that's what I would say. Well, actually, that's what you just said. Anyway, we'll take you there right now. I hope you enjoy the episode with Kirk.
Struggle on.
I'll say that at the end of the episode. Thank you.
Struggle off.
All right, we're joined here today with an incredible improviser, and I'm sure you're an incredible teacher, but I haven't been in kindergarten for a long time. Kirk McCullough, everybody, give him a round of applause. Nick, that's, yeah.
I can hear the applause.
Yes, welcome, Kirk. So good to see you.
Good to see you too, Brie.
Yeah, I can see you, but the people listening can't. Nick, Kirk is an improviser, and he's a kindergarten teacher. And we're gonna talk to you about how that works.
Yes,
how does
ending.
that work?
How do I do both the things?
I know. When I
Yes,
brought up-
ending our future, guys.
that's right.
That's true.
Thank you.
That's true.
Because children are the future.
You got to teach them well, and yes, and you let them lead the way.
Well, eventually they're gonna have to.
That's
'cause-
also very true. When I'm in the home, I'm hoping they're nice to me. That's
they
all I got to
better-
say.
They'll remember you from when you taught them, and hopefully be good to you.
Yes.
So it's a good point. When I told Nick we were going to be speaking with you, he mentioned how much energy it must require to both improvise and teach young children on a daily basis.
Honestly, not even just improv. Like doing anything after a day of teaching kindergartners requires a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Some energy.
How do you do it? That's my question. How?
This is like that Sarah Jessica Parker movie. Just like, I don't know how she does it.
How does she do it?
How does she do all the things?
She's a woman and she walks. How does she do it?
Well, that's a whole different. She has children and a job. What? No, yeah, I think for me, it just came from a place where, like I've been teaching I'm going in my 15th or 16th year. Honestly, I've lost count. I guess I started in 2006.
Last year didn't count, right? So
last year, I know. Yeah, we're resetting so many things from this past bit. Although in some ways, I think it counted double because I definitely have found this year I'm actually putting in twice the amount of work for maybe half of the results. Just because of everything is shifted to the online realm, and you
Yeah.
gotta type everything, form everything, put it all on a link, and then like literally half of the kids will do it because as soon as they are at home with their parents, they don't want to do work because they're not me, and they get mad at their parents for wanting to teach them. But anyway, back to the kindergarten class. I've been teaching kindergarten for the past 9 years or so, and absolutely amazing group of kids to work with. Like I just love the energy off of that age group. It's fantastic. One of the great things as an adult is, every teacher has their own range that they like to work within, kind of their own little zone. And I know that, like, if I was a grade 6 teacher, and this is not to minimize anything they do, my 9 to 3:30 may be way different, but then my 3:30 till whenever the heck they're done marking and doing all those sort of lesson planning is a way longer process. Whereas for me, like it's kind of a 9 to 3:30 sprint through the day, where it's a sprint while juggling, while writing, while singing, and while doing every other set, while doing backflips, and teaching them how to do all of that stuff as well. So I definitely found, as I was doing it, and as you do anything more and more, you start to get better at it. And then you start to realize, like, outside of that time, okay, I'm able to refine my practice. So from 8:30 to 3:30, I'm teaching. I do my prep afterwards. I get my stuff ready for the next day. And then I can go home and I'm just kind of like, all right, what's up here? What do I do? And I was starting to realize that, I was getting creatively, linked into my teaching profession in a way where I was like, I could put more into this to a point, but then you're kind of at a point where it's like, if I'm putting more into this, then that is like my life, right? Like there are some teachers. Well, that's the thing. There are some teachers, and God bless them. They're fantastic, but their personality is their profession. And I know that wasn't me. So I started to kind of think, it's like, okay, what could I do outside of this that would be of interest to me? And, about the same time as I started to kind of get, I guess, almost like a 7-year itch of teaching kindergarten, I was emceeing some friends' weddings of mine. I had a buddy who was on Dragon's Den, and he needed like a shirt model. So I went in and I helped him out with like some promo stuff for that. And as I was doing these experiences, I just had friends going back and say, it's like, you should like really do something with this. Like you should actually get out there and, cause you're fun, you're a good presenter, you talk well, as I just did right there. Yeah. So why not? So I just thought, okay, why not try looking into improv, because it's something where I can flex the creative muscles. I can get on stage. And I don't have to write anything down, which is amazing.
That's the whole point. Yeah. That's yeah, exactly.
Had you done any improv before any of this, like in I don't know, high school, or before you started teaching or anything?
Yeah, I did some back in high school, and did some like acting in plays, like student films in university and stuff. And right out of university, I worked for a cruise ship company, and I was doing youth activities and youth entertainment for them. So there was a lot of me in front of large groups trying to entertain, inform, etc. So it wasn't something that I wasn't used to, but it was something that, as I got further and further into teaching, my audience became my classroom every day, and I kind of missed having that like challenge of being able to go and do something else. So yeah,
that's very cool.
I like it.
I gotta know where you went. What kind of cruises? Like, where did you go?
Oh, I went so I worked for Royal Caribbean, if I can say the name. I always say that.
No free ads.
Like, well, I know they always say this. It's like, I don't know if I can say the name of the company, but here it is. I'm not going to slag them, so I'm going to say the name. No, I went to Mexico, the Caribbean, East and West, Panama Canal, Alaska, Northern Europe. I feel like I'm missing something.
Royal Caribbean. Did you get lost? What happened?
So for a while they were only the Caribbean, because I started working back when 9/11 was a thing, and they like literally went all insular, and then after doing it for a few years, they started to branch back out.
Okay.
So by the tail end, that's when it went to Northern Europe. That's when it went to like the East Coast of the United States, and a few different places.
I saw ads are like coming back on for cruise ships now, and I'm like, too soon, guys.
I think we are being very hopeful that is going to be a safe experience.
But no way.
And I was going to say experience, and then my mouth said experiment, and I'm like, should I correct that? No, that's right. It's
That
an
is
experiment at
hilarious.
this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literal petri dish.
Wow. Oh, well, that's something. I'm sure the pandemic has made things for teachers quite difficult, and I can only
Yeah.
imagine. I guess you brushed on it a little bit, but I can only imagine for a teacher of kindergarteners, like it's one thing if the kid's old enough to be responsible and to know how to do homework, but this is their like
And read.
and read. Yes,
Yeah.
this is their like intro to school, and they're still at home with their parents. So how
How does she do it?
how?
You know,
Found
it's
the name of the episode.
yeah. How
She do.
how do you do this? Well, you know, the funny thing is, like with the improv and teaching, like I've actually found that there's a lot of interplay, especially at the kindergarten level. The one thing about kindergarten, every grade has a curriculum where you're supposed to meet like these particular benchmarks. So, for instance, if you're in grade 1, you're supposed to be able to do math addition up to sums of I can't remember exactly 50 or 100 or something like that. You know, and in grade 6, it obviously goes up incrementally. Kindergarten, the whole thing is like explore the relationships of numbers, right? So there's no way for a kid to fail kindergarten. Rightfully so, because that would be, how devastating would that be
Oh
for
my
a small
God.
kid to have that happen to them. But it does give you, as a teacher, a lot of leeway. So one of the things that happens in my class is, you know, we always make sure we're celebrating whatever success a kid has, right? Weaving that into the online world, it kind of becomes similar because you have to be okay with the fact that you're going to be a TV show for some of the kids. And as
Yeah.
soon as you are done teaching your lesson, they are turning you off and they're going outside to play. And I've said to parents, I don't want you fighting your child to do this schoolwork, right? We'll try and do as much as we can. Here's some extra stuff. Please don't compromise your relationship with your kid to make a pattern out of blocks. You know, like they will get that. We will catch them up. Every teacher knows they're in that same sort of headspace. So
Yeah.
we'll get them there at some point. So I just find like, you know, you have to put it out there from a strictly work standpoint so that there's content, and then just have to be ready for whatever you get back and kind of not take it personally if you put something out there that you think is really cool and 2 kids finish the assignment.
Mm.
That's a good point. I remember, so our sister Pam is a high school teacher, and she was kind of like, right now, like high school kids, I find are not being great at listening and participating and being interested because, like, I don't know, you're a teenager. I'm sure you'd rather be doing other things.
Mhm.
But she's like, if 2 kids finish the homework or are listening, if I could tell 2 kids are listening, I'm like, great.
That's a win today.
Oh, it makes me so sad for teachers.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're here to do the job, and I think, you know, we're all such perfectionists within our own little fiefdom. Teachers don't like not having control of a situation, and who the hell has control in a pandemic, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely nobody. So I've had to talk to colleagues of mine. You know, I'm the union rep for my school as well this year, which has been very interesting.
Oh, God.
And there's been people who've been like, oh, we don't have guidance on this. We don't have guidance on this. I'm like, you know what? Let that lack of guidance be your frigging freedom, because you're right. There's not. And that might be by design because everyone is building the plane right now, you know, while it's flying.
Well, yeah.
So, you know, kind of allow yourself to be the best teacher you can be, even if that's not the best teacher that you were when you were able to be in a classroom.
Right. Because you're not
Go, that's
anymore.
pure improv.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. You got to roll with the punches. I want to figure out a way to actually try and work more improv stuff into just training adults and teachers and things. But it's very...
Make sure they pay you for that.
Oh, yeah. No. Hello, teachers get paid money.
Yeah, I know, but
we're not the States. We're not going to do it for free.
Ooh,
Yeah, if I was a teacher in the States, I would not. I would not be a teacher. I will tell you that right now.
Oh man.
Yeah, you know, pay me what I'm worth, which they do in Ontario. They do. So
Good.
You know,
Good.
Full credit. But yeah, I think one of the funny things with teachers too is because we do get into this perfectionist mindset. And I have improvised with other people who have been teachers, and I find that no shade here, the ones who teach elementary are really fun to play with. And then I've improv with a couple teachers who are high school teachers, and they have a lot of trouble letting go. And I think
I
it's the
bet.
age range that you're working with, right? Because it's like I can be more creative, but at the end of the day, how much control do you give the people you're playing with, which when you're a teacher is the kids, and how much control do you retain for yourself?
Good point. It's true. You do have to let control go to be a good improviser. That being said, your show Duo Derby is one of the most well-controlled shows and well-organized shows. Nick, when we could do this show in person, Kirk would bring out this like board. It was like a very specific and very like well, it was like definitely a teacher board, And now I think now that we brought it online, the way that you've adapted it for the online audience, I think you're probably one of the first shows to get onto, what's the program? Is it ODR or
OBS is
OBS?
the program that
OBS.
I run it through.
Yeah. So you're one of the first producers that I saw here in like the Toronto scene to master that and I would say master that because
Oh God, I would not, but thank you.
but more so than so many shows. Like I haven't even anyway.
That's fair.
I produce a bunch of shows, and I'm scared to go into that world. But the shows are so well produced, and in this element of like, this is the duo that's coming up next, and the visuals of like, okay, please wait while we're right before the show's about to start any second now. It just makes it such a positive experience for the viewer, which is great in a time when you can't actually see your viewers.
Yeah.
And you want to keep them informed in a way that, I don't know, that goes above and beyond just like, okay, the show's going to start soon, I promise. How did you must have learned that program really fucking quickly because it came up pretty quickly. When was the first Duo Derby you brought online?
Oh, geez. The first one was pretty quick after lockdown. I want to say it was early April of 2020, but we didn't stream until the fourth one. We tried to stream the third one, which and that's when I learned a lot of things I didn't know about OBS, like how to make the audio go on the stream so the audience could actually hear it.
Yeah, probably
so
an important
that's big.
part.
That's a learn.
It was a massive thing. But it was hilarious too, because then we're doing the improv show and so many people have so many different skills from broadcasting and performing. They were actually able to talk through, this is how you get it. This is how you get it. This is what works. Then it didn't work. So eventually we were just like, you know what? We're not going to have an audience except for ourselves. Sometimes that's improv. Let's just run the show.
That's true. A lot of the times it's improv.
Yeah. But I think it just a lot of trial and error, to be perfectly honest, trying to just figure out what can I use this for to make the show better. One thing I go with teaching too is like, there's some teachers who are like, I use this strategy, I use this philosophy, I subscribe to this school of educational thought. I subscribe to like multiple issues of multiple thoughts, and I don't have like one particular form I use. So same thing with the show, whatever I can use to make the show engaging and entertaining for people to A, play in, and B, watch. And I am saying that in order because if you're, I think, and you obviously know this too, because you've produced a ton of improv on real stages, as well as virtual. If your performers aren't having a good time, it translates so huge to the audience.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Oh yeah, and you could tell. Like I've been to improv shows, and I've been in improv shows where the person is doing their best to host something and produce something, and it's just you can tell that they're struggling to do both, right? Mm-hmm. And it affects the performers, and it just kind of comes off as a weird show. So my whole goal is like I just want to make this not weird for the people performing, and then just enjoyable for the people who are watching at home.
Yeah.
Good goals. I mean, cover the basics and then just build up from there.
That.
But that's the thing. So many people don't look at the basics. Like I had Rayanne Langdon from the Assembly. She told me at one point, like, it's like, oh, you should teach people how to do a show. Like even before, like, do it. And I'm like, well, but it to me, it's like, I don't know if I want to teach people how to do a show, because instinctively it just seems like things you should know to do, right? Start on time, communicate things to your performers, have a format, give a text script to somebody,
It's so
what
true.
makes your show and like, I think that would, like, there you go, there's my free shit, there's my free workshop,
You
everyone.
got it
Welcome to
here.
What Was My
You
TED
heard
Talk.
it here, folks.
Just
It's
take the fingers and go through it. And I'm just doing, like, the one show, but if you just focus on that, you can produce something decent, I would say, like, online or real world, when we eventually get back to that.
Yeah. For a bunch of people whose art form is based in communication and communicating clearly and communicating, well, and communicating in sometimes even, non-verbally. I don't know. The improv fits so many different realms of communication. We are really terrible at just like fucking replying to a damn email. You know what I mean? Just reply to an email. Just
It
say you
happens
want to
sometimes.
do
I mean,
the show.
I think the thing is too, improv is also one of those things that, like, everyone who does improv for the most part is doing improv with something else as well. And we all absolutely love to do it, but it's like, well, I mean, so for instance, even in the upcoming duo derby that I have going, I just had a performer have to bail on me yesterday, because she had a shoot that's coming up, and
Right.
she's like, they've changed the call time multiple times, and now it's this. I think they're probably going to change it again, but I don't want to mess up your show, so I'm going to have to pull out. And I'm like,
That's good
what am I going to do?
communication.
Am I going to be upset about that as a producer and be like, well, how
Let me
dare
call
you?
your director.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
How dare you make money while I'm,
yeah.
collecting donations for this fun little show that isn't going to allow you to pay rent,
That being said, if she was to like drop out the day of, I think
that,
you're allowed to be upset if somebody drops out the day of.
I think so, but again, it's all a matter of perspective, right? Like, why are they dropping out the day of? Like,
Right.
are you literally are you getting paid? Are you getting paid, number one? Like, if you're getting paid and you got to drop out the day of, that's cool. I'm
That's
doing
it.
this show to
Yeah.
have fun. I'm doing the show to give people like a platform to kind of play as pairs, which hasn't existed as much, I think, in the pandemic for online improv. I mean, right now, I would say in Toronto, what we have the Assembly, we have Bad Dog, and we have Second City. And I think, like, Assembly is doing fantastic stuff with, like, trying to get as many people into kind of old school long form group improv. Bad Dog has, like, just fantastic curated programming. Everyone who's going to be on a Bad Dog show is like cream of the crop. And, Second City, I know that they have Girls Night In. I've seen a few of their other things put out there, and they have their educational program. I don't think it's broadcast in the same sort of way, right, as maybe the other two are.
No.
But then it's like, how many shows are there out there where it's like, okay, you don't want to do it in a giant group. You don't want to do it. You might not be at the point where you are able to do it on a Bad Dog level, and we have Bad Dog performers as well, but
Right.
come to our show. Or you might want to have like a larger audience than what the Second City is reaching at this point. So my whole thing is like, let's just do something where everyone can kind of come together. We're gonna have fun for an hour and a half. You get to play with one person who is a friend of yours that you get to pick. I never pick a duo for Duo Derby because I like, I don't know, I'm not gonna say you go play with this person. You pick the person. It's your team, and that makes online improv better if you actually know the person you're playing with.
If you get, yeah. Whereas, guess who's coming to improv? You don't know who your partner is, and that's kind of the whole point. Is can you get better at playing with strangers? But that's a different point. That's a different goal.
Exactly. Yeah.
And with the Duo Derby, I love it. It's a fun little competition show. We got that sort of wrestling element to it.
Yeah.
And you always bring some real pros to sort of to just elevate the show as well. So I think it's probably, as far as Toronto shows, it's reliable. Like, you'll see it once a month. It's well produced. And it's super fun, like you mentioned. So but it's rare. There haven't been that many. So way to go! So congratulations on putting together such an awesome show.
Thank you. It's tricky in the pandemic. I get it. Like, there's been people. I think a year ago, we all started to try and figure out how we could produce these shows, right?
Mm,
And for a lot of people, it just became hard because either you're in an environment where your mic's off and you're not getting laughs and no one knows if their thing is good or not.
right.
You're trying to figure out a way to replicate what worked on a stage on Zoom, which I think we figured out doesn't work as a straight line over. And then sometimes you put the thing that can be weird about online improv too. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, you see exactly how many people are watching your show. And if you're doing it like at SoCap on a random Tuesday night, and maybe there's not a whole chunk of people in the audience, you're still having fun because you're there with the people and you're having that interplay. You're going back to the bar afterwards. You're talking smack. And then if you're on a Zoom show and you're doing that same sort of thing, and you literally see two people watching the Zoom show, yeah, it in a way it can be really disheartening. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
and it can be a big demotivator for a bunch of people, I think.
And I think, yeah, you make a good point because I'm sure you've noticed it. I've noticed it. A lot of performers that we used to see on the regular at SoCap, at Comedy Bar, at Bad Dog are not performing right now.
Mm-hmm. And I hope they come back. Honestly,
too.
like that's going to be the weird thing whenever this eventually opens back up. Who decides that improv is still something that they are going to be comfortable putting into their post-pandemic life?
True.
And also, I'm interested to see because I know there are probably some people who started improv online.
Yeah.
How are they going to adjust to?
Yeah, as a teacher at Second City who adapted to the online classes as soon as we could, there are people I've taught who have never done improv on a stage. And I can't wait for them to be able to. Because they're going to if they're already enjoying it, just wait till they get on stage and hear laughter,
Oh, yeah.
What was that?
Stop laughing. I'm talking here.
And then you also hope that, that some of those people have the opportunity to, right? Because I'm sure you've had people who are in, a city where there isn't an improv scene.
True.
And then what happens to them once the pandemic is done? Like, I think there'll be some form of carryover Zoom prov, but I think it'll be different than what we see now with the Bad Dog TVs and the Assembly Tuesdays and the Derbies and all that as well, where it's going to be more of just people getting together to play. Because I don't think anything beats the live experience.
Yeah. Personally, I went out last weekend and we had a little jam in a park and it was so good. We did all the games that we can't it was short form. We did all the games we can't normally do on Zoom and it was so good. It was so good. A lot of clap focus.
The longest clap focus ever.
It was this is so good. We just got all of the anger out. All of the pins up pandemic through our clap. And a sit stand bend. We're finally we've been waiting for so long for this.
I love it.
And I feel unlike I don't know, because it's such a collaborative thing, I feel like writers and Nick's a writer. Writers had a brief moment of oh God, what's going on in the world? But then you could get back to your writing, whereas improv is a little bit harder.
Oh wait, not ever leaving my house isn't a good excuse to stop writing. Shit.
Whereas it's a pretty damn convincing excuse to not continue
do improv.
Yeah, exactly. Even though I personally find I've convinced myself that online improv is fun. But then I did improv in person and I was like, oh my God, it's so much better. But that doesn't mean I'm going to stop doing it online. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then there's stuff you can do in the online world that you can't do in the offline world, right? I did a Bad Dog series with Daphne Joseph a couple months ago. We finished
friend of the pod.
Yeah, Daphne's amazing. She, her whole thing at the very start of it was a 6-month Bad Dog intensive, and she's like, we need to just get away from the idea that online improv is worse or it's not the same or it won't be as good. It's different. It's what we can do now, and you can do things online that you couldn't do in person, right? I can get up in front of my camera, play with camera angles and have dumb Zoom backgrounds. I can grab a hat and all of a sudden my hat is a different character.
Yeah.
I had someone making fun because I worked Squirtle. I have a Squirtle stuffy.
I was at that show.
Yeah, you were at that show. Yeah, Squirtle took over the zoo. Squirtle was president of the World Bank. That's what happened. I think if I remember, it's all coming back to. But like, if I just like was on a stage and I'm just standing there going Squirtle, Squirtle, it's going to be ridiculous and it's going to get different kinds of laugh. But all of a sudden, like you're confronted with like a stuffed animal, and I think pretty much everybody in that set
had
stuffed animals at some point.
Yeah,
you're not going to see that, and it was just like a weird, hilarious friggin' set.
It's true.
Right?
I took a class with Susan Messing and Rachel Mason over the course of the pandemic, and they're like, use what you have right here.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't actually have to mime a pencil for the first time ever. You don't have to mime scissors. You don't have to mime your cell phone because you actually have your cell phone. For the first time, you can use these props that you normally don't have access to.
Did you ever get any of the people at the start of it, though, who were so against that?
Yeah. They're like,
it was so weird. It was just like, it's like, we can't use objects. We're improvisers. Like, the object's right there. The reason we mime the object is because we can't get the object because we're on a stage with 2 chairs.
It's true. Now we have access to the objects.
Like, I have a lighter. I have sunglasses. I have Icy Hot.
I am here for all the improv dogma. Nothing.
We have people who take it a little too far, like
love it.
Corey Birch and all his puppets just hanging out with him, ready to go. I'm kidding. That's not too much. I love Corey, and I could watch whatever he does forever. But
Corey was a pinch hitter on a duo derby where Chris thought he had COVID, so he had to like literally day of be like, I can't do it, and he didn't. He didn't have COVID. So just like, who could I get on short notice? Who's a good host, and I can just do easy shtick with. Corey, come here, please. And literally, I think all of the in-betweens on the sets were just him pulling out costume pieces, and we just worked that into it. And like, this is
perfect.
This is amazing, because if this was somebody who I didn't have this with, it would just be an awkward hosting experience. And being able, so talking about like the tech side of it too, having a co-host when you're doing the tech for your own show is so key.
Yeah, it'd be so good.
It's like, Chris, go do something goofy. I'm going to press this button over here.
I just have to figure out how to use all of this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Chris thought he had COVID is the new NBC hit coming out this fall.
How did you and Chris host the show? How did you two start working together?
So Chris and I, we met at Second City, I think at level D.
Okay.
I had done A through C as a unit, and then I took the summer off because I'm a teacher, and did some traveling. And then level D just kind of came back, and he was there. And then we just kind of, we hit it off. Like, we did a couple scenes in a few of the classes together, and we just started to, realize like there was chemistry there. Then we went and did long form part 1. And there was a class where I think it was just us 2 plus another improviser there. Just a bunch of people on a Sunday couldn't make it. So we just ended up doing a ton of scenes together, and we're like, this is like this. We actually have like some really solid chemistry here. Like, how are we having this much damn fun? So there was a show at SoCap by the name of Duo, which was like a duos only show, and I put it out there. It's like, do you want to go and do this as a team? It's like, yeah, for sure, let's do it. And then we just came up with the name Cadley Brooper. That one was mostly because we were like thinking of a couple names, and Chris didn't I don't think either of us had anything. I'm like, people say I look like Bradley Cooper, so why don't we just make ourselves like a bootleg Bradley Cooper team and switch the C and the BR together, and that's our team name.
Did you know that I went to Humber with Chris's twin brother?
You went to school with Dan?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Isn't that crazy? What a small little world.
Wow.
I know.
That is so weird.
Anyway, back to you.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Back to me, Brie. Am I the guest or are you the guest?
I remember seeing Chris. I think I came into sub a class for Chris once, and I was like, like what? Because they're identical. Twins, man. It always freaks me out.
I think they're not actually identical. I think they're fraternal.
But they look so much alike.
Well, I mean,
they're twins.
They showed up at the same time.
That's true. That's true. You mean in the world or on the comedy scene?
The world in general.
Yeah.
I think comedy. I mean, I'm sure their comedy careers maybe at the start at the same time. But yeah, anyway, we just kind of kept it together as a duo. We went through the Assemblies long form program all the way together till the end. And at some point, we were just like, like let's. We were noticing there was a trend in Toronto where there just wasn't a lot of opportunities for duos to play together. Like there was duo, and that was kind of
Yeah.
it in terms of just like drop in invitational stuff. So it's like, why don't we do something? Why don't we actually just start up this little tournament? And at first it was, let's try and just get people we know. And then slowly it started becoming, okay, let's get actual, name improvisers, people who are like been around the scene for a while and they can kind of be our big people in the tournament. And then, it just kind of grew and grew from there. So the one thing about the online world is you can really get a lot of really good people because no one's doing anything else.
Yeah, they're not. That's true. That's a good point. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not out working because we're not allowed to yet.
Exactly. It's sad, but it's good for content.
Yeah. So what would you? How about so when you and Chris play together, what would you say your sort of style is?
Oh, geez. It's very much. I would say I play the straight man, and Chris is the one who frustrates. That's very much how it goes. Like he's really Chris is amazing at just picking something and sticking to it as a game and finding ways to come back to things. And then like I will just go at length about a subject. And I can go off on a rant about a whole bunch of different things, and then Chris will just like bring it back to whatever the game is. So it's this great push pull we have together.
Yeah.
And at this point too, we know each other as well, so we've been able to do like fun relationship scenes. We've been able to do there was a scene in the world's biggest improv tournament where he was my dad and I was coming back home for Christmas, and at one point he asked me, he's like, "Are you bringing your husband with you?" Which I was just like, I was floored with, because as a queer improviser in Toronto, most of the time like there's so many heteronormative assumptions about what's going on, and for to have your partner actually ask you that on stage, it's just like, this is great. We're gonna delve into some shit. This is awesome. So we actually had this kind of like, it was still funny, but it actually ended up having like some heartwarming like Friday afternoon special like stuff about like how you can talk to your dad and a father and son coming together about being queer. It's just like, oh my God, like how did this happen?
It's so lovely and real, and that's one of the things I love about improv, is that we can tackle these things that are in like movies try to portray, and and sometimes you're just like, this isn't, I don't know, this doesn't feel right, but in an improv scene you're just kind of like, yeah, this is just normal. This
like
is just...
more.
Oh, go ahead, Nick.
Sorry, is it like more immediate and true to like what's actually happening in the world?
I feel
kind of thing.
I feel like it can be if the improviser is being honest.
Yes.
And I think Kirk's a great honest performer. So I didn't see that scene, but I imagine in my mind, I imagine the beauty of it.
I think it takes time too for something like that to develop, because like when you're starting out, you're so much about like this, I'm going to be ridiculous and this is going to be a laugh a minute. And then sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't, because it's so dumb it doesn't make sense. And then the more you do it, and this goes into the teaching mindset as well too. The more you do something, the more you can sit in a moment where you're not sure if anybody's getting it, because you think eventually you're going to get to something that's going to be meaningful, right? And you become more and more confident with that. I mentor teachers at my school who are just coming out of the faculty of education. And it's very much like beginning improvisers in that they have a lesson plan, and oh my God, they have like a million things they're throwing at their lesson plan, and they're like asking all these questions, and they're doing this, and it's like, let's talk about this. And the kids are just, they're excited for the first part, and then you just see them kind of like actively disengaged, like, what is happening? This is too much. But that's the thing, right? Like it's finding that thing, trusting that you're going to deliver whatever that one thing is, being okay with it not going well, and then just being like, all right, well, tomorrow is another chance to do this again, you know?
Oh, that's so important. It's so important. The next show, the next
Yeah.
show is there, so don't worry about it.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but I find on the subject of playing a scene that sort of honestly depicts queer relationships, as a teacher of improv, it's amazing to me how we're totally cool with being astronauts, and we're totally cool with being aliens, and we're
Hmm.
totally cool with being like giant monsters or birds or whatever the case may be. And then as soon as somebody endows you as being like somebody in a same-sex relationship, people freak out. And I'm
Hmm.
like, oh my god, just yes, and like some
Yeah.
people are so stuck in their like
Yeah.
identity that can
Well,
you
I mean, it's a low key homophobia. I think like when people use homophobia as like the actual fear of gay, I think that is what happens there. I've been in classes where people are like, "Oh, I was, he called me his husband, and I didn't know what to do with that." It's like, okay, if it was a female improviser, female identifying improviser, um, who asked you that and said husband, you would know exactly what to do. Would you then be, and I think the mindset some people go is like, he said husband, oh my god, now we have to make out. It's like, no, that's not like, because if the
yeah.
improviser across from you was female, you would not be like, well, now I have to make out with my wife.
uh,
I hope you wouldn't do that
yeah,
because that would
I'm
be
glad
crossing
that
all
doesn't
sorts of
happen
boundaries.
very often. Yeah.
Exactly, right. Especially when you don't know that person on the stage, right? So you just do a scene where it's like, okay, we are husbands, cool. It's not all about that. It's about what is going on in the relationship that's causing problems. And you can, like, I've done scenes with female improvisers, and I'm not like, I don't know what your lady problems are. I only know man problems.
um,
So,
I would
blah.
kind of love to see that scene though, Kirk.
Just kidding there.
For
I
sure.
worry
That
about
scene at
me
one point.
doing that scene just because sometimes, like, I feel that I'm open about my queerness. I'm open about being gay. I feel that like I don't necessarily come across on stage right away in the way that some other improvisers do, and I'm not saying that's a negative or a positive, um, but I do feel like if I did that in my typical way, it would come across as like I am just an asshole straight man being an asshole to this woman, and I would have to lose in that scene so
Yes,
fast
definitely.
because
Yes.
otherwise, like I'm just being a dick, right?
Unless
Um,
people know it's you and they know,
unless
like you're
yes,
playing to your fans, then they get to delight in you.
playing to my fans,
I'm sure there's Kirk fans. There's
they're,
Kirk
they're
fans.
they're
Yeah,
probably
I'm a fan. I'm a Kirk
well.
fan.
Thank you, Brie. Thank you.
Yeah. Speaking of fandoms, Kirk, you made the cover of was it the cover of Now magazine this year?
Oh my God, yeah. No, it wasn't the cover of Now magazine. It was
What was it?
their top things to do in
Oh,
Pride
right.
this
Okay.
year.
I thought that
Uh,
was on the cover. I don't
No, I
know.
mean it might have been. I don't know what magazines are anymore because I don't go outside and
Right.
touch paper.
Oh
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow, stack of papers. Let me rifle through
I'm
these.
gonna
Oh,
lick
but
them.
other humans could touch them as well. Ugh.
No, no, it was yeah. So my buddy Brian, he has a place on Young Street that he can take the windows out of, and every year, yeah, I mean, when he could, he would have pride parties where you could just take the windows out, and we would sit in the windowsill and look over Pride. And I think one year they just had a photographer out there just taking pictures, like, oh, this is interesting, and I just happened to really like the window seats, so. Pretty much once a year, someone's like, "Hey, is that you?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's me."
That's me. But you did,
It's me.
if you don't mind my delving in
Yeah,
here, because you did mention on Facebook that there was a time when that wasn't as comfortable for you as it is now,
yeah.
um, which I think is incredible. I think it's wonderful to see how we've, as a society, progressed, evolved. But how, as a kindergarten teacher, this must be an issue that comes up.
It is and it isn't. I think it depends on where you are and how confident you are and the community that you happen to teach in, right?
Yeah.
I teach in a community which is very, like, if we're talking political stripes here, very orange and red,
Mm.
progressive, a lot of a lot of younger quote unquote money, where people have become successful, they've had experiences in the world, and it's less of a thing there, right? Like, we've had kids in my school, we have kids in my school who have identified as queer. We've had kids who have identified as trans. And actually, I shouldn't say identified as trans, who are trans, because I'm still learning the language sometimes too, because it always is evolving, right? So there, it's less of an issue. I do know that obviously, I have colleagues who teach in other schools in Toronto where I think it would be more of an issue. Some of them play their cards out for everyone to see, and if the parents want to complain, the parents complain, and others are more guarded with it. But I think one of the things is, like, I always recognize what my privilege is, um, and like, God, like, if the heteronormative white man is going to not put himself out there, and say, like, yeah, no, I am open about this, and come at me, and take a hit. Someone who does not have that sort of privilege is going to have a harder time going forward, right? And I'm not saying that, like, me being out publicly is doing the work for, someone who is queer and a person of color, or someone who is trans, because those are completely different situations and different life experiences, right? But the people, I'm a firm believer that if you are in a position where you can be out and it is safe to do so, you should be, because that's building the strength for everybody in the community
Yeah.
to be able to rise up. And then you can use that to hopefully elevate voices of people who may have more difficulty coming out within their own community, right?
And
Yes.
it's also
Yes.
affirming your own personal truth in the world as well.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to worry about hiding anything. You get to just be yourself,
Yeah.
which, straight white
Yeah, I was
dudes
gonna say,
always get to do. Like,
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
how beautiful is that for a kindergarten teacher too? You know what I mean? To teach
Yeah.
kids like this, be yourself. Damn it, that's
well, for kids that age as well, they're really well placed for they just accept everyone, I'm guessing, unless their parents are friggin' Nazis or something, but or religious, which is anyway. Sorry, I'm dealing with some stuff right
I haven't
now.
had any Nazi parents in my
Oh,
classroom.
thank goodness.
But I mean, I have had parents who've been resistant to things that I've taught before in the past, and they've asked questions, and some we have reached a consensus with, and others
Yeah.
less so. But the way I always phrase it with the kids is, inclusion is always going to be better than exclusion, because that's just something they get. Every kid has been excluded at some point.
Oh man, yeah.
Whether it's from a game, whether it's from an activity they wanted to do, whether someone told them that they had the wrong Paw Patrol toy, or their shoes are silly. Like, there's that thing where they get excluded, and they get that being excluded feels bad. And trying to bring people in and include them makes them feel good, and that's something we talk about, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and I've flat out said to parents, there's like, don't you think that's, like, it's too young for them? And, like, okay, so here's the thing. Let's say your child doesn't meet their first kid with gay parents until grade 3. So your child has now had 5 years of not hearing anything, and they've crystallized their ideas, they've crystallized who they are. You're just kind of rolling the dice that when that kid meets the kid with the gay parents, that kid's not going to say, two dads, ew, weird, right? And that might not be anything for your kid, but for that kid with the two dads, that's devastating for them, right?
That hurt. Yeah, because for kids, I guess for a lot, for humans, feeling like you're just, God, I want to say normal, but, like, accepted in the community and your social circle is, like, super important. And I think kids are way more fragile about it because they haven't built defenses and secured themselves as people yet. So yeah, like, all the anti-bullying inclusion stuff is awesome for kids. And I don't know if it's just like our ages, but to me, like, watching my own kids growing up, I think kids today are like so nice to each
Mm,
other, and there's so much focus on like don't bully. Like there's nothing worse in
yeah.
school than being a bully. And even the kids that do that, like our guys are, they're like, well, maybe that kid's got some bad stuff happening at home, so they're almost even like forgiving the bullies preemptively.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a mindset that I think we just have to kind of move into because like, shaming doesn't work
Hmm.
on any level, whether you're trying to shame the kid who happens to be in the minority status into some sort of silence or some sort of false sense of integration,
Mm,
or whether it's shaming the kid who is having the trouble with bullying behavior in
yeah.
the classroom, right? Like I'm very careful with my kids. We identify what bullying is. We talk about it, just put it's like a bully, and we actually work into math too, because I do this intentionally, because bullying is a
If your
pattern.
if your
Oh.
class
It's a
has five
pattern that
bullies,
repeats over and over and over, right? So we, it's you're always connecting things in kindergarten. But yeah, so it's like it's a pattern that repeats over and over. So if I see a kid in the class who is starting to be a bully in kindergarten, like I just take them aside. I'm like, so do you realize what you're doing? The past 3 times, or most of the time when you're with this kid, you choose to do this. They cry. You're making a decision, and this happens over and over,
Wow.
right? And so what is that? It's like that's a pattern. And if it's a pattern that hurts somebody, what's that called? Bullying. It's like, okay, so is that something that you want to be? Like, because if you practice it, that might end up being what happens, right? So you're
I
never
identify as bully, so yes.
Yeah, the kid wants to be. He's like, finally, my parents will
yeah.
respect me now.
But at that age, no one does. Like, no
No, of
kid
course
No.
not.
says, I
Yeah.
want to be a bully, right?
No, a bully is a bad thing.
Yeah. And they get that. So you just, you put it down to that level. And, and I think at that age, especially kids can change and kids can figure it out. And, and we tell them, it's like, look, if you don't, the whole the idiom from people as adults, it's like, if you don't like gay marriage, don't get one. Right.
Right.
Oh
Um,
God,
yeah.
give me that take all day long.
Yeah.
Same,
But,
same
but I
with
just,
abortions. It's
yeah, but I
like,
just put that down to the kindergarten kids, like not that exact thing. It's like, yeah, okay, so you don't like that piece of art that kid is drawing. They're not drawing it for you. They're
Mhm.
drawing it for them. You don't like their backpack. They're the one wearing that backpack. It's not for you,
Mhm.
right? So you just, there are things that aren't about you, and you can, if you don't like them, you can just choose to not say something in that situation,
Yeah.
right?
I
And
think the
that's a learned
early.
behavior that some of them
Yeah.
don't get because they're very, very, very single synapse kids. They're just like, boom,
yeah,
what?
yeah.
A thing I have to respond to. So that's awesome, and I love that you're doing that work. I love that you're creating better little humans.
We're trying.
That
We're trying.
yeah, and I know it's bullying is a big struggle, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and it
Right.
is cool because I know Nick was talking. Like, I think kids know the language against it more these days. I think there are still issues where, as they start to get older and learn more things, because they know the system, the ones who want to know how to hurt also can figure that out. So you have
Oh
to be
yeah.
vigilant against that as well.
Yeah.
So it is a constant struggle.
Mm.
What between that to make sure that they're able to come out of it okay.
Yeah. And what about constant struggles that Kirk is dealing with? I knew we
Good
were
segue.
gonna get there. You knew we were gonna get there, but I guess we've talked a little bit about some struggles with dealing with kids, and I guess yeah. I don't want to make any assumptions, but is there anything that you've been dealing with that on the show sometimes we talk about
Yeah,
time or money or whatever the case may be. Is there something that you wanted to bring up?
I think this year especially just trying to find that balance between the things that bring you joy and the thing that brings you money. And I'm not saying that to say that teaching doesn't bring me joy, because it absolutely does. I love my job. I love being able to, be in front of the kids and be that guy to a room full of kids. Um, I found that for a long time in my life, university and like, some early stuff in my teaching career. And I think a lot of people fall into this trap. You get into this thing where it's like, okay, if I am taking on too much, I have to drop the fun thing.
Oh yeah.
And then you end up cycling too far into the less fun thing and almost increasing your workload in the not fun thing.
Yeah.
And for someone like me, like some people have called me alpha type on certain things, and I can be. But I will be a person who, if I'm not able to do something, I will try and fill my time doing the other thing. And there's a very distinct possibility of, just getting too deep into something where it's like, this is now not enjoyable, but I'm doing it because I feel I'm obligated, or I'm stretching myself in all these different directions. And I've given up on this thing that's fun.
Right.
Right. So it's just being able to find that time, especially in the pandemic, because now, teaching, like I said, teaching takes twice as long for me now,
Ugh.
because I have to do all the legwork and the computer work on one side. And then improvising also
You're doing
can
more
take
work
twice
than
as
that.
long.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, like even if you're performing, you're in front of a screen now for an extra hour and a half, whereas before, it's more of a social thing. You're at the bar, you're going there, it's a little bit more of an adventure. So being able to find that balance between, the two worlds, and not burn out on either of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you never want to be good at the wrong thing, right? You want to make sure you're.
Let's talk about that a little bit more. Because I could see in Nick's eyes, like, what? Curious. You mean
This sounds intriguing.
Yeah. So in this case, what is that for you? What is the wrong thing for Kirk?
Oh, geez, wow! Now we're getting real deep into it. I think the wrong thing for me would be if I became like okay, there was a point in time where I was definitely considering becoming a principal. And I had principals and other staff members saying, it's like, oh yeah, you really should do that. You're really good with this. You're really good with managing parents. You're a really good communicator. And there was a point in time where I was like, yeah, you know what? I think that's a career path for me. So, I started looking into it and, getting involved with like the things in the school that would put you onto that path. And as I started to get deeper onto it, I started to look at what was required of being a principal, and recognized, like, all right, I could do this. I 100% could go and do this job. I don't want to. I don't want to work until 7 o'clock every night with my school planning, and then wake up at 8 o'clock the next day and have to deal with that. I don't want to have to. I don't want to have to balance the needs of my staff with the needs of a parent who's uneducated about an equity issue. I don't want to have to fight with the superintendent when something new comes down. I don't want to have to put in a board directive when my staff is, obviously in the right about something, and it should be the way that they're thinking, but this is what it is, right?
Yeah, that it was never what you were in the gig for anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? And I think so many people in so many careers fall into this thing where it's like, wow, I could do that and I have to advance. And it's like, do you? And why? Right? Like, are you actually, I'm a part of a fraternity at my university. And I keep in touch with the membership, like through the years down, like we have a few mentorship things. And there's a buddy of mine who, he's in finance, and he's talked to me a couple times. It's like, yeah, I feel like sometimes I'm just chasing the money too much and I'm forgetting to do other things. I'm like, yeah, well,
it was always about the love of the numbers.
Well, that's exactly it, right? Like you're doing a job and you're good at your job, and your job gives you money to be able to do all these other things around you.
Yep.
But if you're spending the majority of your day doing this, like, are you actually being able to relax and have fun at the end of it, right? And
Absolutely.
I think that's for me, like that's where, being able to settle on this like kind of kindergarten improviser hybrid would go, because during the day, I'm still able to have fun, deliver, awesome fun programming for the kids. It's high stakes, low stakes at the same time, in that if something blows up, we can, change course, move on, go to something else. They're having a great time. And then at the end of the day, once everything's planned and ready for the next day, I'm still doing something that lets me express the adult side of myself with other adults in a creative fashion. And then at the same point in time, like, I'm able to make money and
Yeah.
buy goods and services.
You could continue to live in Toronto, and
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the
That's
thing.
wonderful. Have you played with writing and stuff too? Have you played with comedy writing and other comedy arts, or is it strictly improv for Kirk?
I've done some sketch comedy with the Assembly this year. They actually started up a sketch program. So I've been doing some stuff with that.
Cool.
During the pandemic. Yeah, it's fun. It's a different mindset,
Mm-hmm.
to be 100% sure. And I'm learning a lot about myself as a writer. I'm learning that I like to write a lot, and that sometimes I can do the same thing with one sentence that I can in three.
It's true. I remember. Oh man, I remember when I started writing sketch.
Yeah.
Like a teacher just like Xing out my whole first page of a sketch, being like, "You don't need any of this. Just start here." And I'm like, "Oh my god, I spent so much time writing that." But yeah, I suppose editing is a thing, right, Nick?
Brevity.
Brevity is the art of.
No, just brevity, Brie.
Okay,
Walk away from
brevity.
it.
As soon as you said brevity, I knew what he meant.
Brev next.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's cool.
but it's been one of those weird things too, where it's like, I feel like the pandemic has allowed for that to become an extra creative thing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens when the world opens back up, right? Like, does that become something that, I keep going with, or that I do like part time, or is it something where it's like, all right, that was a fun experiment for this, and now back to the improv and producing shows. And
true, because similar to improv, sketch comedy online versus sketch comedy in person, that's a very different game. That's a very different game. Yeah.
I mean, Brie, like, writing is just improv in your mind.
Oh, that you have to actually physically write down and do for a long time, and then go back and edit, sitting down at your computer alone.
Just like improv.
Just like improv. Nick, up until the last part, I feel you could have taken that to any of the major improv companies and been like, I have a slogan for you.
It's improv in your brain.
Improv in your brain.
Oh man, I love it. So I guess you must be so excited then, as somebody who's who's in the struggles of balancing work and play. You must be so excited for the summer then.
Yes.
Summer vibes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The kids are done. The kids are 100% done, and I do not blame them. And I do not blame myself. And, I do not blame the education system, because it's asking 4 to 6 year olds to sit in front of a screen for 180 minutes every day.
Ugh.
Which, how many of us can actually sit in front of a screen and pay attention to something that we're actually supposed to be learning for 3 hours every single day as adults?
Yeah, I can do it once for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Once in a while,
It's ridiculous. And I mean, I get it, because obviously part of our job is to try and create a little bit of separation so that parents are able to do their thing at home too. At this point, I feel that maybe doesn't work as well for kindergarten, because a lot of them are immediately they listen to what I've said and they're like, what do I need to do now? It's like, I just said, if I was in the classroom, they would know.
Right.
But screen,
and it
right?
Like, within the last decade as well, kindergarten has shifted towards so much more emphasis on play for your learning.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, was it a more Scandinavian thing that they noticed was working better or something? But like here in Ontario, they were shifting towards that. And
Yeah.
you can't do that on a friggin' computer. Like,
No, it's really, really difficult. And there's the problem is that you can still do things that are experiential
yeah,
for the kids, but
it's away from the screen. You almost have to tell them to go and do it. Like,
and that's what I do. There's times during some of the classes. I mean, one thing I learned is, like you're going to get 10 minutes to do this. If you can show me that you're doing it on the screen, that's amazing.
yeah,
But if you're in another room, like one thing we did, they wanted to learn about rabbits and kangaroos last week and how they jump so high. So I did two different math activities. One was a long jump activity and the other was a vertical jump activity. And each required them to do different things to measure how high their jump was going to be or how long their jump was going to be.
nice.
But I knew that like the minute I said, okay, go do that with your parents, a lot of them would not do it, right? Because
Mommy's in her crying room.
well, that's exactly, or daddy's on a conference call, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to say, go do it while daddy's on a conference call, right? And then by the time daddy's off the conference call, it's lunchtime and you're hungry and you've lost that time. So I just, I put it out there and have the instructions like in visual form on the screen. This is what you're doing. I leave it on. It's like, if you have any questions, come and ask me. You who's still sitting there, what's up? Do you know what's happening? Yeah, okay, go do it. Okay. And they need the specific invitation. So you get that experiential aspect, but yeah, you don't get like if I was in the classroom, you'd be doing that in a team of 4. Everyone would be jumping. Yeah. Someone would be writing things down.
They're all like little different pods all throughout the classroom.
Exactly. Yeah, it's all center-based stations, basically that sort of thing.
Kindergarten was the best school year.
I love.
Yeah, like I think they need to do more of it. Going into the older grades as well too. Nap time. We don't do nap time anymore.
Oh,
we don't do
nap time.
The thing with nap time is that you can't force a kid to go down. And that sounds weird. Yep. Yeah, but it's true. Yeah, you can't force a kid to go to sleep, right?
Yeah.
So if you turn off if you turn off the light and that one kid doesn't want to sleep, or doesn't want to take the nap, are you gonna fight a 4-year-old for wanting to play? No. So if you feel like you need to crash, there's our cozy corner. Go have a seat, relax.
Workplaces need cozy corners.
Oh my God, absolutely. Workplaces need cozy corners. There's been time during the regular teaching days and the before times where I would just go upstairs and staff room. I'm like, just no one come into the staff room for like, just please, no one. And and maybe no one would be in there. And I'm just got like 5 minutes of silence. I'm like, oh my God.
What's with that guy? Oh, kindergarten. Oh, okay, no problem.
Exactly. Although pretty much any teacher during the school day, grade 6 as well too. They're just they're recovering from their lack of sleep because they were marking the same paper on ancient Egypt up until 8 in the evening, and then they finally ate some food. It's like all of these read the same. What?
Thank you, Wikipedia.
Oh my God.
Oh, I can't imagine.
Yeah, it's a whole different world.
Yeah, we didn't have Wikipedia.
We had
actual encyclopedia
Britannica upstairs.
They had to
I think it was awesome.
They had to know which encyclopedia we were plagiarizing from.
Yeah.
Oh man, Kirk, this was wonderful. I hope you have the best summer, because I think yourself and all teachers who had to go through this crazy year deserve
more than deserve it.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
You physically need it.
Yes. I hope you have the best summer and you take lots of time to relax and enjoy and do all the things, or do none of the things, whatever.
Yeah, both. Yeah. I'm sure there's going to be some days where I wake up and it's going to be like, I got all the things. I'm like, nope, changing plans.
None of them. None of them are happening.
This video game looks real good right now.
I love
that beach looks real nice. Just whatever happens. But thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to having the 2 months before whatever happens in the fall.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Improv the shit out of that when we get to it.
Exactly.
Oh my God! Yes, and Delta. What's up?
Oh no!
Wah, wah.
Is there anything? Are your shows still running in the summer? Do you have any duo derbies left
that
you would like to plug?
Yeah, we're gonna. The plan is to do the derbies basically until the world opens up again, that we can do them in some form online. So for anyone who wants to check one out on Facebook, you can find us at Cadley Brooper. So again, it's Bradley Cooper with the C and the BR switched around. We're also on Instagram at Cadley Brooper. and you can check us out there. The shows won't stream there, but it'll give you info on how to check in. So those will be happening, and then I'm still doing some stuff with the Assembly. I'm hosting one of their shows this upcoming Tuesday, and be performing in whatever way I can to have some fun.
Nice. What's your Assembly troupe called?
My sketch troupe is the art. So the Assembly, for those of you who don't know, really do enjoy having kind of combined pun names, which for better or for worse. So my sketch group is the artist formerly known as Prince Harry.
Okay.
Topical.
Yeah.
And then the improv group is Alex Tribeca.
Oh, may he rest in peace.
Yes, may Alex Tribeca rest in peace. And may Alex Tribeca go and have
thrive.
Fun.
Yeah. Thrive in your show. Yeah.
Many fun improv shows.
Yay.
Yes.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Kirk, for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Kirk, would you mind doing a little struggle on with us?
Sure.
Yeah. You just have to say struggle on.
So say struggle on?
Yeah.
All right.
Here we go. Everybody, struggle on.
Struggle on.
Yay. Thank you, Kirk. Woo.
Thank you. That was fun.
Well, that was it. That was awesome. Nick, what'd you think?
Such like fun vibes, positive vibes is what I was looking for. Oh my
goodness. Yes. I'm happy that the future is in Kirk's hand. Future generations are in Kirk's, I was going to say hands, but I should say tutelage.
Yeah. Supervision, watchful eyes.
Yes. And
nurturing support.
All of these are good. All of these, yes. All of these, yes.
Just like a friendly dude.
Yeah. If you if you're interested in Kirk's improv and the shows that he runs and the teams that he's on,
or if you want to go to kindergarten again,
or if you want to go over like Billy Madison, if you want to do that over again.
Shampoo cleans the hair. Sorry,
conditioner is better. It makes the hair silky and smooth. Okay. You'll be able to find links to all of Kirk's projects, like Duo Derby and the different assembly teams that he participates on at our homepage where the episode is posted at theconstantstruggle.podbean.com. It was so exciting. And you'll be able to, I think you'll be able to follow us while you're there, while you're looking at our stuff and our website. You might as well follow us.
Please do. Yep.
Yeah, that would be great. If you follow us on Twitter, we're at SstrugglePod. That would be the way to go, or engage with us right there on the page, on the website, on the Podbean site. Why don't we, Nick? What we do is we don't tell people to follow our own individual stuff enough.
I mean, you can follow me at Los Cincos
on Twitter.
On Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, and what?
Go ahead. Sorry, Brie. Go ahead.
I was going to say I'm on all of the social medias as Brie Watson, but the O is a 0. So it's universal, all 3 big ones. Facebook.
I like it.
Instagram. You know what I mean? So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, please tell your friends about it. Share it around the world for people to listen to.
Or tell strangers, too.
Or tell strangers. Yeah, people you know, people you don't know.
We need to listen, so go to strangers, too.
That's true. If you wanted to leave us a review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, as it's called now, we would greatly appreciate it, and it would really super help the podcast if you did let people know what to expect when they're listening. And we'll, I don't know, we'll read one live on the air next time.
Joke.
What,
cool.
You looked scared, Nick.
Oh no, I'm watching my barbecue.
Oh, okay.
Barbecuing.
All right. Well,
I'm heating the coals as we speak.
Ooh, well, we should probably let you go, folks. Thank you so much for listening, and I want to make sure Nick doesn't burn down his house. So thanks so much, ladies and gentlemen. Follow Kirk. Have a good, enjoy your summer, and
struggle on. Struggle on. Barbecue season.
Woo, woo, woo.